welcome to the Worn and Wound podcast. My name is Zach Kazan, managing editor at Worn and Wound. I'm joined today by Zach Weiss, co-founder of Worn and Wound, and we are on the floor at PAL Expo for Watches and Wonders 2025. Zach, how does it feel to be here?
It feels amazing. It feels like the best.
Feels like you never left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, kind of, honestly.
Yeah.
There's a whole year and a lot of build up, but yeah, now it's like I was just here.
Yeah. So we just finished up with day one of meetings at Watches and Wonders. This podcast, if all goes according to plan, will drop on the morning of day two, or afternoon if you're on the East Coast in the United States. But we thought we'd give you a little recap of what we saw today, what we're looking forward to, and just our general thoughts on the show so far. Because we did see some big kind of like core Worn and Wound brands today, as we always do on the first day. Before we do that, let's do a wrist check. What are you wearing today, Zach?
I have on the Otsuka Low-Tech number 7.5. This is the first time I've had this on a podcast.
Congratulations on the new pickup. I know it's a recent acquisition for you. And that is kind of like the perfect Watches and Wonders watch, I feel like.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Definitely a hype brand right now.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely when people know what it is and they see it, they go like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Usually with an expletive. And then they want to see it, which is fun. It's
Yeah.
engaging. And it happens to just be a very nice watch to wear, even though it's kind of like an oddly shaped watch. It's not like it doesn't feel gangly or anything.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'm wearing my James Lamb Origin Series today because I felt like I wanted to wear an independent brand that was kind of neutral and not represented here. So
that is I feel like the gist basically. Like I have a few watches with me. I did bring a Tudor because it's always good to have in the Tudor meeting.
Have the comparison with
so
other
because you never know what they're going to come out with. So it's solid to have. Plus, I mean, you can't go wrong with wearing the 54 if
right.
I don't know, I need to. But then otherwise I have like indies or vintage. So that
that's smart. That's
no
what we do.
offending people. That's all
You don't want to do that. Yeah, you don't want to walk into a meeting and immediately put someone off by your watch choice. That's an unforced error. It can be easily avoided. So let's talk a little bit about the meetings that we attended. Our first meeting of the day was Tudor. That's historically been the first meeting that we take at Watches and Wonders. And they had three, I would say, kind of like key releases: the Black Bay 68, a new Black Bay 58 in burgundy, and what's the third one? The Tudor Pelagos Ultra. Yeah, we've been getting confused all day. We wanted their deep or pro in the name. It's a Tudor Pelagos Ultra, which is their kind of like most professional Tudor Pelagos diver, which is their most professional diver. So, what of the three? Do you have a favorite of those?
I mean, I would say like of the three, the one that maybe has left the biggest impact was the Burgundy 58. Just because it was a striking color. And, I feel like we've been talking about, this year there'll be another 58 or whatever. And there hasn't been,
Right.
So finally they've come back to the 58. And I feel like we know why. I mean, they really were just waiting to get the master chronometer thing happening. And that sort of like has started all their series over again and gives them permission to throw in the new buckles and all that kind of stuff. The T-Fit class rather.
Yep.
So that one. Yeah. I don't realistically think it's a watch I will get, but when it was on my wrist, I was really enjoying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a very vibrant red. It's a lot of
vibrant,
red,
but deep. It was both like shocking and yet not obnoxious. If that makes sense.
And you came up with the Code Red nickname, inspired by
people. Everyone, please spread the word. It's called Code.
It's inspired by a 1990s prototype, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Code Red Mountain Dew, was that late 90s, early 2000s? It's the same
it's
general.
It's gotta be 90s. I don't know. I never drank
sense of kind of elder millennial nostalgia in any case.
We also could have called it like Red Extreme without an E or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar.
No, I like the Code Red. I think that's fun. Get yourself go to Taco Bell and get yourself a giant extra large Mountain Dew Code Red and a Crunchwrap Supreme wearing your Tudor Black Bay Burgundy / Code Red.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go.
Coolest dude in Taco Bell.
Yeah.
For sure.
I really like the Tudor Pelagos Ultra. It kind of like it's very impressive because it's 1,000 meters water resistant. So basically double the water resistance of a standard Pelagos, but it's not thicker. In fact, it's a small, just a tiny bit thinner than that original Pelagos, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Also, just a bunch of very subtle, small, improvements, refinements. The rehot is basically gone, so that kind of like eliminates some of the thickness right there.
I will throw in that, like, while I understand why they did that, obviously. I always loved that original rehot, and I was sad to see it gone on the FXD, and I was sad to see it gone on the 39. Here they had like more of a purpose to get rid of it, I feel like. But I get maybe their purpose was always thinning down the watches. Like that maybe just adds an unnecessary mil or so. But I like that it always made it feel like a very contemporary take on a Tudor sub.
Sure. And it was distinctive also to the Pelagos. It was very noticeable because the way the loom was kind of like set in the rehot was
exactly.
Also,
it was that cutout thing that was like particularly cool.
So that's a change that I think maybe it might be controversial with some people. I imagine. I think most will probably appreciate the slightly thinner case. But we'll see.
I mean, it's very slightly thinner. It's not like a thin watch.
No, it's not dramatically thinner, but it is noticeable, I think. And the whole watch is just a little bit more refined. It's just very subtly different. It feels like an upgrade, in my opinion. It has a little bit of teal on the dial.
I like the teal a lot.
The teal's a nice touch.
And one other thing I realized, like, after when I was like writing about it a bit, was that the former generation of classic Pelagos, I don't know what you call them, like the braceleted 42 millimeter Pelagos Cs, were 5 lines of text. Right, they like went from 2 lines up to at least 4 and then 5, which was, I mean, that was the most verbose looking watch ever, and it was kind of like, I mean, it was a little unfortunate. You like eventually got over it because you just got used to it, but it was really an unnecessary amount of text. They're back down to 3. It looks, and that really cleans it up to me. And those 3 lines being Pelagos master chronometer and then the depth rating, and like, it's good.
The extra text never really bothered me. I like to read, so it's not a
I like to read the same 5 sentences over and over and over. Not even
every time I check the time. It's I know that's the thing that people really drag on Tudor and other brands for too is text on the dial. The 3 lines of text definitely make for a cleaner dial. Like all in all, the dial is just cleaner in every sense of the word. It's very, very good.
The markers are also a little enlarged.
Right.
The hands are a little enlarged. And once you at first I didn't realize that, and then we were told that, and then you realize you can kind of see how they are wider and a little chunkier.
Cole described it. Cole Pennington, who was in the presentation this morning and walked us through the collection, kind of described it as like a maxi dial. Sort of in theory, which I think is a good comparison point.
For sure.
And then speaking of Maxi, the last Tudor that they took us through was the Tudor Black Bay 68. Which is just a bigger Black Bay. A bigger Black Bay kind of in the lineage of the 58 and the 54 with we're told identical proportions. Obviously the new one is larger, but in terms of like the ratio of, height to lug to lug, it's all identical. But this is a 43 millimeter Black Bay, which is, basically exactly what it sounds like. It's a big Black Bay. And Tudor tells us that there was just a desire to, they heard from their clientele that they wanted a larger watch. And so they gave it to them. And I think that's sort of a theme with Tudor really over the last couple of years is responding to customer feedback and giving people what they want. We saw that last year with the Black Bay GMT, or the 54 GMT or the 58 GMT. That's right. And something similar is going on here, I think, with the larger Black Bay 68.
For sure. I mean, it's iterative in a way, new case size. It's not all that exciting. There was one thing you were very excited about it though.
Yes. So for the first time on one of these kind of like, what should we call them? Like the year Black Bays, the ones that call out a specific year. I don't know if there's like a term for them because they kind of exist in a little sub area next to the standard Black Bay, but it doesn't have rivets on the bracelet. which makes for I think a much cleaner look. I was never a fan of those faux rivets. They don't do anything
except for add oodles of style. They're oodles of style rivets.
Just makes you feel like you're cosplaying in Rivet Land. It's kind of.
I'm cosplaying as somebody who was alive in 1954.
Yeah.
So anyway,
so that'll be something that I think most people will appreciate because I think those rivets are controversial.
Yeah.
And
beautiful, but controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're gone now. So.
Not from my heart.
Well, you have a 54 with rivets.
Yeah, so. And I would never ever get the 68, which is what's great about watching every size you can imagine. Yeah. It's like it really there's not like something to watch will come out. You'll be like, I love it. Why is it X?
Yeah.
Well, now it's like I don't care that that's big because they got it all.
Yeah.
And
something else kind of related to that we should mention about the Black Bay 58 in Burgundy is that it's also available on a 5-link bracelet.
Yeah, which was really nice at that size.
So again, that's just Tudor kind of like filling out little holes in the collection. There's now, there's now a 5-link bracelet that'll fit a 58.
Yeah.
And there's a Metis movement in that watch as well. And so they continue to kind of like year by year expand all these things that kind of looked like one-offs into more of the collection. So
can I stop and take a step back and ask a question to you about Tudor and your thoughts on Tudor? So, the Black Bay 58 Metis certified Burgundies, I think it was 4,600 on the 5-link bracelet.
Yeah.
The Pelagos Ultra, I really want to call it deep every time, but the Pelagos Ultra was like 5,900. Do you think it's the same value proposition once it's almost hitting 6K, like 6K with taxes, as it is as a sub 5K, like as Tudors are sub 5K? It's essentially the same movement. I mean, obviously that one's titanium 1,000 meter, all that kind of thing,
Yeah, it's tough to say. I don't feel like it's overpriced. I would never say like, that watch is too expensive, like, which is the thing I dislike most about the commentary around watches is people who just say like, oh, that's too expensive. Like, can't believe you're charging that for that watch. Holding it and trying it on today, like it felt like a watch that they could get away with charging that amount for. Yeah. I don't know if I would walk out of the AD or the boutique or whatever thinking, oh man, I just stole from Tudor. Like I just got the deal of a lifetime. But I don't think it's like a wildly ridiculous price. But it's not gonna add to the conversation that like Tudor is a screaming value all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is sort of like, that sort of was the conversation, several years back. Like, can't believe all you're getting for $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever. I think
it's interesting that, I mean, they're sort of leaving the 3 to 4 range currently, and like now getting 4 to 6, and that'll leave an opening for somebody else to move in. I don't think anyone else will have the ability to put a movement like they did at that price point anytime soon. But
it's interesting because that's, I mean, one of the reasons Tudor's had so much success is because they had an opening in that price range when Omega started going up market.
Yeah, exactly.
And so now, if we are seeing Tudor do the same thing, I don't know. That's just kind of
sending out a message, psychic message. Longines, this is your opportunity.
Longines, come and get it.
You got to drop a few by a couple grand, but you could own that price point.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, everything year by year, everything gets a little bit more expensive. I still think that there's a distinct, I think, difference. I think between the pricing structure at Tudor and the pricing structure at Omega. I think that there's still kind of like some daylight there, so they're not competing directly against each other. But you're right that Tudor's creeping up. Just like so many other brands.
For sure.
Should we move on to Grand Seiko?
Let's do it. I mean, I had a meeting between those two.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's. What did you have?
Actually, I had a group meeting with Longa, but I'll say that we actually have a more personalized meeting with Longa tomorrow.
Okay, so maybe we talk about that.
Are we recording a podcast tomorrow though? TBD.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make false promises. So I'll just say I quickly got to see the new Longa watches. 4 watches, really 3, but 1 and 2 versions. God, I want to say like Master Perpetual Chronometer. That's not what it's called at all. It's a minute repeater perpetual. A crazy watch in true Longa form, an ultra complication. 2 of the more expensive complications typically combined into one. Voila. over 700,000 euros. Naturally, very limited, but incredibly beautiful. Shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there was the honey gold Odysseus, which is kind of incredible looking. Also, the honey gold is really beautiful, and they put like a tobacco brown dial in there, which like is sort of a perfect combination there. So there's that. 100 of those. Never gonna see one. Sorry.
When did they tell you when they're gonna start delivering them?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Yeah.
They even got somebody noted they got a little cagey when they asked the prices initially. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, you're not gonna. Yeah, that's. I'm sure
that's you get your order in now, and maybe you hear back from them in a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think they're still finishing the titanium ones. So, yeah. Literally finishing them.
I mean,
completing them. Yeah.
Notoriously, it takes a long time for those watches to make it to market. So.
But I think the watch that people will be most excited about in reality, because they're not as insane or limited, is the new 1815 in 34 millimeters, which is a size they haven't had since first debuted. So the original, I forgot the line, honestly, the original big date manual wound, maybe it was even Saxonia or something, were 34 millimeters. Chris, has one.
Sure, yeah.
Who's worked with us. Really cool size, very unisex. Not that they're not, any of them are not unisex. I say that because I've been listening to marketing stuff all day, This is what happens to you, engineering.
It poisons your brain.
Poison my brain.
Yeah.
But it's small, it's 72 hour power reserve, and 6.5 millimeters thick. Like, it's a really, just a very cool, very tiny watch. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the Lange stuff later this. I think my meeting's on tomorrow. I don't know.
Tomorrow at 12:30.
Thank you. I'm glad someone's keeping track.
Yeah, I have my calendar open. Otherwise, I wouldn't remember what meetings I went to today.
That sounds great. I'm always excited to see like the Lange Super Watch that they put out every year. Like last year was the Datograph Lumen Perpetual. So
it's worth noting when they release those watches, they also make one gigantic one for the booth.
Yeah.
So the booth changes every year with like a 5-foot diameter super watch.
So what was it this year?
It's the new
minute repeater?
The minute repeater.
Okay, because it's been the Odysseus before.
Last year was the Lumen.
Yeah,
and which actually did glow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they put a lot of effort into these things.
Yes, and they had it like hidden until even though the embargo I think had lifted. Like the show wasn't open yet. Like when we got here at like 8:00, there weren't. So it was. Yeah. Anyway, showmanship. It's it's alive and well here at Pal Expo. Yeah. All right, Grand Seiko. You had seen these watches before. You had a little visit from Joe Kirk in the office. Made a video on a couple of the new Grand Seikos and got to see the collection. The highlight for me, and I think for you too, was the new. A new watch with a very new, very advanced, highly accurate spring jive movement in a 37 millimeter Evolution 9 style case. Tell us a little bit about this movement for people who might not have.
Sure.
Yeah, do your best Joe Kirk
impression. I think it's the 9RH2.
Yeah.
I might be getting that wrong, but that's what I think it is. And what is significant about this is that they classify it as UFA, ultra fine accuracy, which is like a riff off of the very fine accuracy from 1969, which were mechanical watches that were regulated to basically within a month, deviation, 1 second a month deviation.
Yeah.
Which is still impressive to this day. That's like plus minus 2 seconds or something crazy like that. So like that was a real flex for them in 1969. I think literally meant to kind of be a shot across the bow of Switzerland, just being like, you're not the only ones who make great watches. And it just has a mythical lore, obviously, in Grand Seiko stuff. And they've brought out VFA before in limited editions, but this is a whole new, you're going to see this regularly now, UFA. And what it is spring drives, which are typically plus minus 15 seconds a month or plus minus 10 seconds a month for the kind of fancier ones. Now plus minus 20 seconds a year. Which is just,
insanely accurate.
Yeah. So what they make the claim, and I believe them, that it's the most accurate, movement with a mainspring. Mm-hmm. They have to be careful because obviously there's 9F is still more accurate than that, but you're getting into that HAQ level with something that still is largely mechanical.
Yep.
And that's incredibly cool. I mean, I feel like Spring Drive, I think, is what turned me onto Grand Seiko initially. It was like the watches were beautiful, but then one day I just was like, Spring Drive, I got to get into that, you know? So I'm really excited to see that. And then the watch itself is so beautiful, like that case and the micro adjust clasp. I mean, that watch hit so many lists, like checkpoints for me, like titanium and 37 and this awesome movement. Like it's I don't know, Grand Seiko keeps doing. They did this last year. I feel like the manual wound, the 9R845. God, I guess it's all messed up. But like last year, that was like pinnacle level feeling, right? You know.
Yep.
They're hitting these. I don't know. It's really impressive. It really is. You know.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously, like the headline is really the movement, and the movement is impressive, but like. That wouldn't matter if the watch itself wasn't also like really great, and like everything about the watch is like aesthetically is just really spot on. Like the dial, it's a new dial texture and looks wonderful.
Ice frost forest, something like that. Super cool.
The titanium watch has kind of like it's a very pale blue. I think, unfortunately for me, I like the platinum one a little bit better.
The blue and the platinum is really nice.
It's a little bit darker.
Yeah. But once again, this is something they're launching. They're not going to like leave it alone. You know? I feel like because it's a new movement, and I feel like this is what we're seeing with the 9R845, is that it's going to take them a little while to probably build up production to then start releasing iterations, because they didn't iterate on that at all this year.
Right.
There's only 2 watches right now with that. So I feel like it might be another 2 or 3 years before we see more of these. But then, I mean, I almost wonder if they're going to discontinue older 9Rs. Probably not. Because that would bump everying up.
They'll still need like a, you know, kind of like the workhorse caliber. Yeah. You know, it was a very, very cool watch. Glad to see that in person. After kind of like hearing about it from you for the last, week or two.
I was really excited when I saw that. And I like Joe like put it in front of me and Devin, and like we were sitting there, and like. I mean, I expletives were used. Excited expletives. Holy shucks was said at least once. Gotta keep this PG, But I mean that's just catnip for Grand Seiko nerds, and it should be for watch nerds. Like that is an achievement of a watch, I think.
Yeah. The other notable release from Grand Seiko this year is a new Golden Lion version of the Tentagraph with kind of a crazy case with, like Joe said, there were like upwards of 40 facets on this. On this case, like highly angular design, very intricate. Really cool watch on a rubber strap, the first rubber strap on a Grand Seiko, which is hard to believe.
It's also a very Grand Seiko take on a rubber strap.
Yeah.
Like, it was like a design code kind of thing, like faceted sides. And, it was cool.
I like that a lot. And there's a high jewelry piece that's like really crazy and like beautiful, extremely limited.
380K, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
It was up there. 350 maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Usually they show those to us. I'm like, you can always be impressed by the craftsmanship. This is the first time I think I really liked it.
Yeah.
My tastes are going haywire.
That's what being in Switzerland does to you.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes you I don't know. It gets you really into the high jewelry stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of high jewelry, that might be a good transition to my last meeting of the day that I just came from moments before we hit record on this podcast, which was Cartier. Which is, as always with Cartier, just lots of insane, incredibly rare, expensive stuff that I will never see again outside of Watches and Wonders. The big hit, the clear hit of the show, I think, is the new Privé collection, Tank Aguiché, which is their kind of like jumping hour watch with it's in a tank case shape, but with apertures for the hours and the minutes. Just like longtime favorite watch of many serious Cartier collectors and enthusiasts. People have been asking for this, I think, for a very long time.
That's one that also maybe 4 or 5 years ago started to get more and more
started
attention,
to get hot,
and then became
unobtainium.
One of the ultimate, like, I don't know if it's quite Crash level, but it's approaching.
I mean, it should be. In my opinion, it's better than the Crash. I'd rather have a Tank
I would rather have a Tank
than a Crash for sure.
How do you pronounce it?
Tank Aguiche, I believe.
Aguiche. I said Guilloche. So Tank Aguiche.
It's not Guilloche. Guilloche is an entirely different French word.
No,
that means a different thing.
I'll try not to embarrass myself later.
Oh, that's okay. You Americans get a free pass on a lot of
the tank jump hour.
Yeah. So it's they have a few different versions. The ones that we saw in the meeting were a gold version with the hour aperture at the top, and then the minute aperture running in like a crescent, shape at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the traditional layout. But the really cool one that's like kind of that everyone's like buzzing about here is the platinum version with the hour aperture in the top left corner of the dial, and it's like kind of flipped 90 degrees or 45 degrees actually, and the minute window is similarly kind of like in the corner of the opposite end. So it's just sort of like
a driver's tank. Is that the concept of it?
I don't know if that was I don't know if it was if they thought of it in that sense, but it's sort of a similar principle that everything's just sort of like tilted a little bit, just kind of like along a different plane. It's just incredibly cool. That one's, I think I mentioned platinum. So it has limited, like the red accents, crazy. which is great. Very, very impressive. Very impressive watch. And all of the watches they showed us were similarly impressive. It's also a fun meeting because people are it's fun to watch people gawk at this stuff.
I'm kind of sad I didn't get to put that into my schedule, because the Cartier meeting is, like we joked last year in our video, it's the wonder side of this.
Yes. For sure.
I mean, if the first Cartier meeting several years ago, they had that like jeweled balloon watch. Which was like, they're like, pinch the balloon. You're like, really? Like, isn't that like $1 million? You're like, yeah, pinch the balloon. It's just like, it's fun. It's really fun.
So Cartier is great. I'll write some more about my Cartier experience. Kat has a meeting with them in a couple of days, specifically for photos. So you won't have to suffer through my inadequate photography.
But you have like 20 seconds to take.
It's also like a very hectic meeting because it's a packed room and there's like almost 100 watches probably literally that they're just passing around. You have a very short time period with them. So
should I talk about my high jewelry meeting that was in tandem to yours?
Yeah, please do.
So I had obviously my first meeting with Bulgari at Watches and Wonders, because it's their first year at Watches and Wonders. They've sort of been I think a big missing brand from here. They were always a part of Baselworld. In fact, when you used to go to Baselworld, they were like the first quarter, it felt like, of the floor on your left. So they had a really commanding presence there. And then, they just haven't been a part of this. So,
and they have a commanding presence this year here.
Huge booth
that you see. It's the first thing you see in that main concourse, like even before like Rolex and Patek. So that tells you something about their.
It's such status. I mean, I don't know. That Bulgari, Bulgari is like, I guess, the tentpole brand of LVMH for watches. Really, they make that.
Yeah, I mean, when you combine it with like their jewelry business and everything, it's like, they're huge.
Yeah, it's their Cartier. I mean, it's kind of funny because there has been at times a little bit of like a war on that level between LVMH and Richemont. So in this building, it's nothing but peace, hugs, and handshakes. But Cartier is Richemont's like a feather in their cap. Certainly. But anyway, so I had the meeting, and it was funny. They really presented only two novelties in terms of like video and talk, and one was their new Ultra Tourbillon Octofinissimo, which is now the world's thinnest tourbillon at one very, very, very ultra thin, as they do. Super cool, made out of tungsten carbide, so that it like won't break, snap basically. So it's like an ultra rigid material. It's one of those watches where to make it that thin, the base plate is the back of the watch, kind of a thing. Unfortunately, there's only one of those, and it is in a glass case. So that one they did not hand around. The other one was the Serpenti Eterna, which their Serpenti is a super iconic jewelry watch. It's like a snake that wraps around the wrist. It's very, it's
one
iconic.
Of the iconic traditionally ladies watches.
Yeah, and they're gnarly, but it's like, so what they did was they tried to make like an ultra modern version of it, basically. And so it's totally streamlined. The snake isn't a chain or like an expanding sort of like link contraption anymore. Instead, it's a hinged bracelet, and it's just very smooth. Everything's smoothed out, and it takes a little bit more of a snake form to it. And then they passed out watches. So they had other novelties that they just didn't talk about there. So there's like other new Octa Finissimo variations, like a sandblasted rose gold perpetual Finissimo, which like the Finissimo Perpetual with the retrograde is a super cool looking watch, and sandblasted gold is really uncommon. So like it's a very fun thing to look at. An 8-day out of like carbon, I don't even know, some crazy stuff. Where I want to get to with this is that I got to put on the Serpenti Eterna.
How was that?
It was great. It was a great experience. I had a gaggle of media ladies from another country. I'm not quite sure where. They thought it was really hilarious. I was putting this on, so I had like an encore of laughter as I put it on. And
I mean, but that's what you do when you're in a Bulgari. I mean, we've done this at. I remember at an LVMH Watch Week event in New York a couple of years ago. There was Bulgari was presenting their whatever Serpenti that year, and every male, media person, writer there, like we all take our turn, kind of like putting on, because I think it's important to understand like the tactile experience of it, because it's not whatever you think it is in your head before you put it on. It's like a very like they got it like tactilely exactly how they wanted it.
And like as you'd expect from a 6-figure piece of high jewelry, it's like incredibly beautiful, well made, finished to the nth degree. And so this one's double hinged, so it's actually pretty easy to get on your wrist, and like it fit my wrist pretty well. And it's like, I have to say, there's definitely a certain type of arm and wrist, like a fully sleeved tattooed super cool dude would make that watch look really cool. I'll leave it at that. I'm not quite there. I'm far from there.
But I mean, I'm definitely not there either, but I still I really appreciate that. Like, it's a real kind of triumph of design, that thing. It's very Serpenti's very cool.
That was my Bulgari experience. I've had a Bulgari experience.
I'm glad someone on our team did. I couldn't fit a Bulgari meeting into my schedule, so I'm glad we were able to get in there. Let's close out with our little indie experience today. We had back-to-back meetings this afternoon with Resonance and with Chapek, and the Resonance meeting is always a lot of fun because I feel like we, like as a team at Worn and Wound, like I feel like we really get Resonance, and like they kind of understand. We have a good relationship with them. I think that comes from like a shared sort of like philosophy on just on watchmaking and watch design. And so I always really enjoy that meeting.
Being rule breakers. Being iconoclasts.
That's what we are. Real iconoclasts. So this is my first look, and yours too, I think, at the Type 7, their new integrated bracelet style sports watch. This watch has been the subject of a lot of I don't know, like there's some criticism of it, like early on when the first images and renders came out.
It's a bit shocking for Resonance. I mean, I was
generally surprising.
Unexpecting.
It's like it's really not in their wheelhouse. Like they don't make sports watches. They don't make watches with. It's a different case shape for them.
They're typically super fluid shapes and ergonomic.
This one has hard angles, and it's got like people. The derisive comment is, the pretty expensive for a Tissot PRX or whatever. If you see anyone make that comment, just know they don't know what they're talking about.
Nor have they seen the watch. They might never.
They just have bad takes. I was impressed with the watch in person. It's a titanium watch. The finishing is very nice. Like it feels great in the hand. It wears really well.
But to that point though, people are like, oh, this is not finished. Resonance isn't a brand that's like about ultra high finishing. Not that it's not finished very well, but they're not a brand that makes fancy finishing. It's all about what they're doing in their dials and their, micro mechanics and all that stuff. So.
I do think that it's worth talking about the finishing on this watch in particular though, because of the bracelet and because there is more to the case on this watch than in a lot of their circular.
Certainly. So, I concur.
I think it's so I think that's worth examining, and I think that they kind of they pass the test. I think it's like it's a nice case that doesn't overshadow the dial, because the dial's oil filled and it's crazy. It looks amazing.
And it's very weird because it's like a bubble emerging out of this very flat, like kind of overused term, but brutalist sort of mid-case section because it just has flat slabs on it.
Yep.
Which makes it even weirder looking than usual somehow.
Yep.
And with the sunken bezel around it too, which is strange.
Yeah. So yeah, I was impressed with the Type 7. We also saw, or I saw for the first time in person, the Type 9, which came out a few months ago now. Yep. Which I was just like very impressed by. Like I thought it looked great. Thought it wore really well.
It's sort of a diametrically different watch.
Yeah.
From that it's like it is perhaps their most wearable watch ever. It's like not challenging in that way at all.
Yeah.
It's fully polished grade 5 titanium. Maybe not fully polished. I forget exactly. But I don't know.
To our earlier point, it doesn't really matter so much because it's really all about the dial. And like
it is.
Case finishing is like kind of like inconsequential.
I guess what I meant by what I was saying is like I feel like people hear 35K or something and they imagine something like there's a special type of level of
they expect that there should be a certain type of handwork or something on the case.
Exactly.
I'm spending this much money. The case better be whatever.
Yeah, there better be 2,000 facets on this thing. You know, that's just not their shtick.
It's not what they're trying to do. Never has been. And then Chopek, which to me, I was really blown away by that new tourbillon.
Yeah.
I thought that was really beautiful. I love the way the case is constructed with basically just a mid case and two pieces of sapphire
super cool
on the top and bottom. I thought it was really very cool. And they just like their watches are just incredibly beautiful. Like I'm just always blown away by like the thoughtful design of those watches. We're talking about Antarctiques for the most part. I'm not really like an integrated bracelet guy, but if I were gonna like really like extend myself and like spend more than I should on an integrated bracelet sports watch, I think that's probably the brand I'd go with, just because I like the dials so much. And their movements always look great. I
like the movements a lot. That micro rotor movements with like it's got a funky architecture to it. These like big finger bridges. And it's usually sort of grayed out. It's like not your typical looking hand movement. I was very impressed with the tourbillon as well. I think particularly once again because of the case construction. But when I was looking at photos of that, like the dial, I don't know, didn't grab me in photos with that very large bridge across the middle. Like it looked, I don't know, like almost like too much going on kind of thing. But that didn't feel that way in person.
Yeah.
And something that was really interesting about it that they're explaining was that the dial material is what they're calling a secret alloy. Which is some proprietary blend of precious metals that is designed for guilloche.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. That it's like about the quality of the cut that they get out of it. Which I like that. The thought process there. Yeah.
So that was basically day one. There were a couple other meetings in there. Kat and I went to IWC and saw actually like a bunch of stuff that we can't talk about yet.
I went to Chopard.
How was that?
It's very cool. Those are just such beautiful watches. I know, like I feel like Chopard is gaining in popularity right now, and I think for good reason. I haven't had that much personal experience with them, so it was really nice to get hands-on with a range of them, including, extraordinarily high-end ones like a minute repeater. But they were just very beautiful. I don't know what to say. Like, there was these Quattro models, which have 4 barrels in them. So they have 9-day power reserves, but they're 38, 39 millimeters and like hand wound. So they're very thin. Like they wear like your average 42-hour watch, but so incredible watchmaking and then just beautiful dials and everything. It was just really nice. And they had a really nice exhibit actually from their museum of basically one-off women's watches from like 1960s and 70s with the advertisement as well that went with that watch. And these are like just the funkiest things, giant oval shapes, very like things I would have expected to see more from not Chanel, from the brand you went to, Cartier. They had a very Cartier feeling to me, because that's just the jewelry brand that I'm most aware of. But then the ads were very like Fosse looking kind of just funky things. Yeah. It's a fun little exhibit they did.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So just to close out, anything that you're looking forward to over the next couple of days, and how would you describe the overall like mood and tenor of the show. Because I think like going in, there was like the prevailing narrative was this is going to be a very subdued show.
Mm-hmm.
The the watch market's not doing all that great right now. It felt kind of quiet like in the first half of the day, and then things like really sort of picked up, and I felt like there was like a little bit more excitement, probably just as people were in more meetings and saw more watches.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I won't say it like feels somber in here, but it is definitely quieter than it has been other years. We've like not had trouble getting a chair when we've wanted to. Which I was sort of joking
about.
That's
kind of the test. Can you sit down?
Yeah, and my thing I was looking forward to, I joked, was a place to sit. I found a place to sit. So, but in terms of the watches, I don't know, like I'd say it's less exciting, but then I start thinking about it and it's quite exciting. Like tomorrow we're going to be with Rolex, going to see those new watches, and like there's obviously a lot to unpack with the Land Dweller aesthetics and everything, but like them launching a whole new movement is kind of crazy. That's very unexpected, especially considering what it does. And then Seiko launching a new movement and high accuracy, like that's really exciting stuff to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered the question or not.
No, I think that's a good. Yeah, I think there's exciting things that are happening. I mean, Rolex is not like bubbling under the surface, like by any means. Like they're the talk of the show, for sure.
100%.
But like for a Rolex movement to be the talk of the show, that's like a very kind of like nerdy thing. And I don't know. I wonder how that's just going to translate over the course of the next, several weeks and months as this is like all digested by people. Like I think there's
a very nerdy take on a movement. Like we were both saying, neither of us have like read enough about it to quite digest it yet, but like it has a new escapement in it that's based on a very old escapement, plus it's high beat. That's a lot in a single movement, but let alone from an incredibly conservative brand.
And that you have like, I think I didn't even really consider that. Like you have Grand Seiko kind of like at the same time releasing their own sort of like throwing down the gauntlet in terms of accuracy and precision, caliber. So there might be like watches from this show that are like maybe historic and remembered for a really long time, even if like the buzz around them at the moment isn't like fever pitch, like peak watches and wonders. So
I agree.
I
have 13 meetings tomorrow.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Mine. I have a similar amount of meetings, and they're
this year we decided that it's like not worth trying to get back to the press center to write as much.
Mm-hmm.
So you might as well just take as many meetings as possible.
Yeah.
So load it up, but it's more fun, I have to say.
I think so. I don't want. I mean, who wants to spend the entire show sitting in the press lounge writing? I try to avoid that, honestly. Like, the point is to like see watches and to meet with brands.
Yeah.
So, the writing can happen later.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our Watches and Wonders Day 1 wrap up. Thanks, Zach. Always fun to relive something that we just went through hours ago.
Yeah.
might as well. I don't know if we'll be back for another episode. We'll try to record another podcast.
We'll certainly record like a follow-up.
Yeah, there'll definitely be a follow-up.
You might remember last year's mid-week episodes got a little cracked out because we get cracked out from doing this.
I'm already there, honestly.
Yeah. We also just didn't have immediate plans after the show tonight. So.
Yeah.
This is brought to you by our lack of dinner plans. Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening. We hope you're enjoying the Watches and Wonders coverage. Definitely stay tuned to the website for all of that, and to the social media. Our Instagram, of course, has a lot of stuff kind of happening in real time as we're here at the show. And we'll see you again next week, if not before. Until then, take care.